So thank you for being here. My name is Dr. Rosie Main, and I am a chiropractor here in town. Have been here for 25 years and love getting to serve many people. And this seminar today is designed to be very conversational. So please don't feel ashamed to ask questions throughout this whole time. I like to make sure that we are able to answer your questions. So why we do this, and for many of you heard us from our mailer that we send out, and some of you are patients, and glad that you guys got to make it here today. And so neuropathy is the topic, and what we do specifically in our office is try to help people find solutions naturally instead of the normal route that people take whenever they are diagnosed with neuropathy. Unfortunately, people end up on many unfortunate medications, and there's a time and place for medications, but what we always strive to do in this office is help people and teach them how to start changing their lifestyle. So as you can see, our lunch today is part of that lifestyle, and we'll be talking a little bit about that and why we incorporate a lot of the stuff that we teach with our lunch. And so I have a passion for this topic because unfortunately my mom suffered from a lot of the complications from diabetes that led to her issues with her balance, and then before you know it, she starts having also neuropathy symptoms. She lost her kidneys, had to have a transplant for that, was unable to walk by the very end when she died prematurely at the age of in her early 50s. And so she was unfortunately also kind of blind, legally blind. And then my sister in the middle here, she also was diabetic. We lost her at 47. And then my dad as well, he actually lived until 85. He died about a year and a half ago, and but unfortunately the last part of his life was in his deathbed because he was left paralyzed from strokes, complications, and then he had a blood clot in his leg that, but he also had diabetes and suffered from neuropathy as well. So this is why this topic hits home with me. So I hope that today we can impart some just truth about health. I am also a team doctor for USA Wrestling, so I get to work with people who have really chronic issues, but then I get to work with people who are like winning gold medals. And so wonderful, awesome, great thing. But I actually, to tell you the truth, enjoy my patients here who I can actually transform their lives so then they can win not medals for the world, but medals for their home so that they can live the life that God meant to them. Because unfortunately, like I said, I lost my family way too soon, and we hope that you guys can enjoy your life with your family, and that's what it's all about. So today my goal is to teach you what neuropathy is, because people don't even know where it comes from and why it starts. And so I want to make sure you understand the why before the how. And what we know right now is that a lot of people have it and don't even realize they have it because they're not familiar with the symptoms that get started. We had a guy who came in who had lost sensation of his legs enough to where he told me he had put on a boot and walked all day long, and in the boot there was a pair of keys. And at the end of the day, he takes off his boot, and he's like, I had no clue that I was stepping on a pair of keys. And he had no idea because he didn't feel it. And that's where, that could have been something worse than a pair of keys, but I'm sure that was uncomfortable for his foot and aggravated that. But over 20 million people in the U.S. suffer from it, and so and the complications from it typically are detrimental in the fact that not only do you start losing, of course, sensation, but then you start losing your balance, you start losing the ability to enjoy life because you can't go do what you used to love to do, whatever hobby. We know people sometimes that tell me that, you know, if you can just get me to, so we have a patient right now, she is under our care for neuropathy, and she's like, my goal is to be able by the end of the year go to see my grandchild's basketball game at her university because she has never been able to because she's so scared of the bleachers, of climbing the steps of the bleachers. And so we're like, we're going to do the best that we can, but what you're going to realize is that you got to do a lot of the work too. So this is a dual effort kind of a program because right now the only hope that people get from, like I said, medications and from doctors is typically, let's just sedate your symptoms with what drug typically? What's the common drug with neuropathies? Gabapentin. Have you guys heard of that one? Mm-hmm. Neurontin. Gabapentin's very common. And the tragic thing with these medications is that though they do sedate some of the symptoms, the problem is that they don't resolve the what? The root cause. That the problem continues. And what's sad is that, you know, because you don't feel that you have symptoms, you don't feel it, you're more likely to have injuries that you're not even aware of because you can't feel it and you don't do anything about it. So you do the same thing and the same thing and the same thing, and the problem progresses faster and faster. So if we can help you at least stop the progression, that would be my goal. But we see in our office people reverse neuropathies, and sometimes people have been told that you can't reverse it, but we'll be showing you some testimonies of many of our patients that have been able to not completely maybe reverse it. I've only had one case, and that was the last testimony, and that was a 7-year-old boy from chemotherapy. He got the neuropathy, but we were able to reverse that really quickly. And that's the beauty of trying to do it as soon as you can. And he was young, his body was able to heal. But the goal is to, if we can at least stop the progression and start at least changing, whether it be 10%, 20%, 30%, that would be huge for many people. So that's where my hope is today. So like I said, all these medications have side effects like gabapentin. Most of the time you get neurological conditions that start to occur. People with these medications get dementia early, they start getting brain fog, they start having all the complications of memory loss. So that's one of the things that we don't want you to just be put on something. And if you are, you know, I'm not telling you to go get off of it, but maybe start doing some of the changes we're going to talk about today so that you don't have to use as much, or you can go to your doctor and say, hey, you know what, I want to start decreasing the amount that I have to take. And so, like I talked about, quality of life is the most important thing that we're going to address so that you can go live the life that God meant you to have. So, and one of those things that we start to believe is that, you know, we're just doomed, but God doesn't make junk. I always tell my patients, you know, God, we just got to go back and remove the interferences that are creating this. So there is a better way, and so we're going to talk about this. And so again, if you have never been to a holistic practitioner, that's what we are. So first, yes, I'm a chiropractor. I'm also a functional medicine practitioner. What that is, if you've never heard of functional medicine, is just trying to help people, again, holistically and naturally without the use of medications. And so we see people to try to get to the root causes. So if the symptoms are the leaves and the root causes are the roots. So for instance, most people get the symptoms like the burning pain with neuropathies, numbness, you mentioned it, you know, all these things on the top, the loss of balance, necrotic tissue starts to occur whenever there's not blood flow to your extremities, but we want to find out why. And so most of the things that we deal with are the bottom half, which is the root causes, and many times it ends up being, number one, gut health. So we see a lot of times people, when they're not assimilating the nutrients that they come in, because their gut is inflamed, we got to fix the gut. We also are going to talk about macronutrients and micronutrients in just a bit. And then what we're going to talk a lot of is oxygen depletion from lack of blood flow to the nerve roots and how to start gaining that back. And then neurological interference. So as a chiropractor, we look at the spine, and the nervous system is number one. That communicates from your brain to your extremities. So we want to make sure that we say turn the power on in our office. We basically connect the brain to the body and the body to the brain, because if there's interferences in your spine, it doesn't allow for the body to function. So when you see the power that made the body heals the body, who heals first? God heals, but my job is to remove the interference to allow that power to function at the best potential. So we're going to talk about three specific things. Number one, which we call breakthrough number one, is restoring blood flow. So reigniting the blood flow is going to be key in neuropathy. And so the number one thing that I like to explain is, so you guys know, like, how long can you live without oxygen for the most part?
4 minutes.
Yeah, right? Not a lot, yeah. So if I, stop breathing, or if you're underwater, you're not going to make it too long. But what's even more important, like if I cut the nerve that goes to the heart, what would happen? You die. So what's the number one thing? Beyond oxygen would be nerve supply, right? So nerve supply is going to be huge, but oxygen is what causes, lack of oxygen is what causes those blood vessels to start to lose oxygen. And so when we start kind of screening for neuropathy, if you have it or if you've already been told you have it, we look at thermography. Raise your hand if you know what thermography is, if you've had this test done. Okay. So thermography is basically just a visual picture to see if there's the possibility that you may have neuropathy. It's not a definitive test, but it does indicate loss of blood flow. And so what you want to see in a regular nerve root, you have blood vessels. So on this thermography over here, the normal one, like if this normal one's over here, this normal one, when we see the picture and we take the picture of you in your hands and in your feet, it should look what? Red, like completely red. Preferably not, some of the yellow is still some loss, but more of the red, okay? Kind of like that foot on the bottom, all right? So neuropathy is not getting the blood to the surface of your skin, so it gets cold. That's why one of the symptoms of neuropathy is cold hands and feet. And so when we take a thermography picture, it's going to look more greenish, yellowish, blue, and worse would be at the very end of the finger, the toes, you see blue or black. And that means that those areas are not receiving any blood flow, and so they're literally what? Dying. It's kind of like you put a rubber band over your finger, you leave it there for a while, it starts to turn blue and then throb, and you leave it there for weeks, it's probably going to fall off. You know what I mean? So this is where your body's going to tell you these symptoms, but most people either ignore them and not, basically just kind of let it go for years and years until it's harder to recover. So what causes neuropathy? And there's so many things. These are just some of the many things. Diabetes would be one of the biggest ones because diabetes, unfortunately, lots of sugar in the blood will create a viscous environment in your blood vessels. and then those little blood vessels start to like break. And so that's why you get people who have kidney disease and blindness, because of the fact that they are getting those blood vessels breaking. But also in the ends of your vessels, on the very extremities, you'll also have that. Most of the time, people who have been on any kind of chemotherapy, unfortunately, I've always said, there's a time and place for everything, but it kills one thing and messes up other things. And so this is the top thing. That's why that little boy got neuropathy at 7 years old, because of the chemo. But it saved his life, but it also, he was not able to walk until we started working with him and got those nerves to wake up again. And we'll talk about how we do that. So malnutrition, people who have, again, absorption issues in their gut because they have such a gut issues. Here in America, we're not lacking of nutrients. We have so much. It's not the problem. It's just the absorption of the nutrients. So we're basically we're nutritional deficient, and we're toxic. So that's why we have to deal with the nutritional component, and that's part of the process here. And then we also know that the spine, like I said, the brain connects to the body and the body to the brain. If the nerves are also losing communication because there's spinal problems, it's going to cut off that nerve supply, which also can start the neuropathies as well. Okay, so this is a picture of a nerve root. So the top is the cell body, looks like Medusa, and then you have a tail. Okay, so that's the axon that sends a message from your brain to your body. But these axons are wrapped, and this is what this diagram depicts. It looks like a cinnamon roll, basically the root is rolled up with an insulation, which is fat, and then on top of the fat you have the blood vessels. With neuropathy, the blood vessels start to disintegrate, and eventually then that layer of fats is not getting blood supply, so it starts to disintegrate as well, leaving the nerve root exposed. And that's where it becomes very painful at first. With neuropathy, most people in the very beginning, they have like burning sensation, tingling, they have all those sensations of just pain. But just like a callus, whenever you get a callus, like snow, we didn't do a lot of snow plowing, but like digging or whatever, you get a callus. At first, the blister's exposed, but then what happens? Your body heals with more skin, and then more skin, and it ends up being a little hard. So when you go dig again, you're not as in much pain because there's thick surface. Does that make sense? So the same thing happens to the nerve root. After a while, if it's been exposed for a long time, then it starts to kind of your body just gets used to it. Then you don't even feel anything. So when we do our testing for a neuropathy, and we do like pokes like on the foot, sometimes people don't feel anything. So for instance, can I have you come help me? So like this is one of the tests. I don't know if you guys ever had this done, but it's one of the many tests we do with our neuropathy exam. So these gloves emit electricity. And so I'm going to touch his hands, and if he's able to feel, when you feel a hot stove, what happens? You feel the heat and you pull away. So that's a normal response. Your fingers feel it, sends a message to your brain says, get out of danger, right? So the same thing with electricity. So you guys see how his hands are shaking? So he's feeling electricity, but I'm not letting go, okay? So that's a normal response right there, okay? So that's when people can feel it, their body's trying to jerk away. Does that make sense? When you have neuropathy, I'll do this to your feet and to your hands, and some people are like, I don't feel anything. Is it on? You know what I mean? So this is where that's another test that we do to see, okay, is this definitively a neuropathy, and then when we retest, we can know if you start feeling it again. And that's what the goal is, that when we retest during our process in our program, that we see the red come back, that we see the sensations come back that weren't there before. And what's beautiful is that you also recognize it, that you're getting the sensations back. So when we do the test, we have a variety of things we do, but we then can classify to see where you're at in this chart. And this is a chart 0 and meaning 95 to 100% damage. As far as we want to know how much percentage. So with the examination we do, we then can classify if you're acute, if you're in the severe stage or the permanent stage. Okay? And then we can also know whenever we're doing the re-exams if you're improving. Okay? Most people that we catch at the acute stage are very reversible, like I said. Some people who, and it's going to take longer if you're like more in the 50% range to 60%, more of the severe. It may take a little longer and more work from you. And we may never see it at 100%, but even like I said, we can get, at least, more towards this direction. That's what we would want. And then people who are in the permanent damage, I'm never going to say, oh yeah, we're going to help reverse this 100%. But if we can at least, stop the progression or even do 10 to 20% better. And that's why the sooner we catch it, the better. But then I can really plainly tell you if this is something that I feel is recommended for you. When we do the exam, we can then define what I really feel with my experience, what the best is. Most people, unfortunately, get told, you're done for. And as a man thinketh, so he is. Whatever you put in your head, so you are. So I don't ever say, oh yeah, you're done for, because who knows? Only he knows, right? When we're gone from here. And so this is where we need to continually be hopeful, and we'll do whatever we can. So even if you change a little bit at a time, your body has the potential to heal, but we do have to act. Faith without works is dead, and so we have to act on it. So breakthrough number 1 requires putting oxygen back into those blood vessels to revive them. And so the term is called photobiomodulation. It's just a scientific term. Don't worry about that. I'm going to explain it. But basically, your mitochondria, which are organelles, so this is a cell, that little squiggly organelle, that one is the mitochondria, which is basically the part of your cells that bring energy to the body. And so it requires light. So just like plants need light for photosynthesis, we need light for the process of energy production. Okay? So what we found that the thing that works the best with neuropathy and what we give you to do at home, because a lot of this is going to be home exercises and surfaces you do in the office too that are more and more advanced, but you need to, kind of like the toothbrush, have things that you do at home as well. So you get your own red light canister. It's like this canister that you do. What used to take us like 15 to 30 minutes of red light, we can accomplish in 5 minutes. And because sometimes people have it in their hands and their feet, well, we used to have this boot, and we still give it if people want like another option that's less expensive, but it just takes longer, and people don't want to do stuff for that long. So that's why this is able to do it in 5 minutes. So we put the feet, both of them at the same time on the red light here, and for like 2 to 5 minutes, you're done, and then you do your hands, and you're done. But you would do it twice a day. Does that make sense? So, so the same thing with, so red light, with this one, it's very advanced. That's why it costs more, and that's why we give options. Some people want this one because they don't want to sit using a boot for, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, you know what I mean? So it's too much. So that's where we have options, but with this one, it goes way deep into the tissues. The red light bulb is just much more advanced versus a boot. So sometimes we'll use the wraps, and those are 600 nanometers. These can go up to 1,000. So that's why they're just better quality, but they do cost a lot more. So that's where the red boot, which is more cost effective, we still have people do this while they're doing like their, and then we'll explain all the home stuff later. While they're doing their vibration, they're doing their red boot, and they can do it on a recliner while they're watching TV and multitask and do the stuff. And then this is another red light that comes with our first program. But basically it's a deeper one, but then again, you're having to add more time. Does that make sense? So this is where there's a lot of options, but red light's going to be one of the huge ones. Another, again, stimulus. So just like a muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it. So you have to stimulate those nerves and those blood vessels by motion. So that's why you'll see a lot of vibration plates in my back rehab area where people stand on them to get that stimulus through their body, but then you have one at home. So it's one thing being here once a week, that people come in here once a week for our program here, but you want to do this daily. And so we give you the quake plate to do at home while you're doing the red light. And again, you're getting as much as activity as you can in your legs and in your body. And so that's part of the process. So we'll see if this one plays.
Hi, my name is John. I'm a patient here at MainHealth Solutions. I cannot brag about this place enough. It has been wonderful for me. One of the main things that I've been treated here for is neuropathy. I have diabetic neuropathy. I've got probably neuropathy from congestive heart failure and quadruple bypass surgery. And neuropathy has stopped me in my tracks, literally, I don't know how many times. And so I found out that soft wave is beneficial for treating neuropathy and all the various other things that I do here, even just normal adjustments. It's all connected, and it really does help. I do I guess 4 main things. I do the back on track machine, the what's the other one? the shock wave thing, with the coils that are really helping my neuropathy. I do soft wave, which is tremendously helping me. I've used it for 2 or 3 different problems, and it has worked tremendously for me. I first started using it on my knee because I was having very difficult ability walking. I fell a lot. My knees used to kind of go out on me. It really helped that. I haven't fallen in I don't know how long. And going from being an avid hiker, mountain climber, various other athletic endeavors, soft wave tremendously helped me. It's painful at first, but it's worth it. And it just, I recommend that for anybody.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep going, but mainly he said it's painful at first because, yeah, definitely it's gonna wake up those tissues. So it's basically, how many of you had shockwave before? Well, other than my patients, yeah. So it's a very high-speed wave made from water that goes to the end of that bulb, creating a light because of the speed of it. It creates this impulse at 3,000 miles per hour. This impulse, it's a very advanced technology that used to break up stones in the hospitals. They'd use it to break up like gallstones and stuff. But then the orthopedic world and the chiropractic world found that, you know, with this wave, you can actually break up scar tissue. So it meets resistance, kind of like I attribute it to a water wave in an ocean that collides with a rock. If it finds resistance, it's going to clash, right? And it starts eroding the rock. The same thing, whatever tissue, scar tissue, we use it for like arthritis, scar tissue and joints, but also whenever you have any kind of soft tissue that needs to bring your stem cells to that area, it creates like an impulse where the body thinks of it as a micro trauma, so your stem cells go, your own stem cells go and regenerate those areas. Kind of like when you get a cut, you get a scab because your body knows that there's a problem. It'll send your stem cells to go heal that area. The same thing, we're kind of like waking up that area. And it doesn't hurt like it's impossible to do. We did it on a 7-year-old, but it basically will hurt like if it's a rubber band snapping at you. But what we see with those neuropathies is that it starts to bring blood flow back to those areas. So John was with us, I think this was his 3rd month. So the top ones are the first thermographies we took. You can see both legs had almost green. The top of his feet blue, and this was after 3 months, getting that not 100%, but midfoot, you know, the red all the way to his midfoot, and then the percentage of neuropathy also improved from 77% loss of sensation to like in the 50s and 40s, 50% loss. Does that make sense? So that's just in 3 months, but he did the work. He was driving all the way from Mountain Home to come in once a week, even during the winter, you know, and so that's where, but he did the homework, and that's where, and he was actually living in a shed at a time because his house burnt down. And so this guy did what it needed to be done, and so he did the work and just has now, he's basically, we just see him like maybe every other month or whatever, just for maintenance plan. But he still has his equipment that he continues to do the stuff at home. So we know that that's number 1. So breakthrough number 2 is going to be, of course, so we talked about number 1 is getting oxygen and waking up those blood vessels. Number 2 is getting down the inflammation. So we know that that's where the diet has to be part of it. So inflammation is what causes this in the first place. When there's a lot of inflammation in your body, it starts to rot tissues. Inflammation in your joints creates what? Arthritis. Inflammations in your arteries creates what? Plaque in your arteries. Inflammations in your kidneys, gallstones, kidney stones. You guys see that? Well, inflammation in your nerves creates demyelination or neuropathy. So we have to fix the inflammation, and it's not that inflammation's altogether bad. When you get a sprained ankle, is that good or bad? Inflammation in your sprained ankle, is it good or bad? It's the best thing, right? So there's a time and place for inflammation. It's that acute inflammation is the best thing. It's when inflammation has been there for years because you've never changed your diet that it starts to destroy tissues. And that's where we get all these chronic diseases we're seeing in the United States, is too much inflammation in our bodies. So what causes inflammation? Of course, number 1 is stress, but food. And I'm not going to, this is not a nutrition full class, but key number thing is sugar. And I know that it's everywhere. And we do lots of classes here that are specifically, like tonight we have our workshop on nutrition for my patients. And that's when we walk them through what to do and how to do it. I gave you a little tool that you can just start using, because there's lateral shifts. Like if you saw the food that was there any bread? Bread turns to sugar. So there's no bread. But did you like the meal? Apparently everybody's plate is empty. You know, see, if I gave you a dark chocolate, it was like 70% dark chocolate. So can you have treats? Yeah. You guys like the chips? Those were grainless. So grain turns to sugar. But guess what? With Siete brand, you can have not the whole bag, but you can have 10 chips with guacamole. Did you guys enjoy that? Yeah, so it's just changing lateral shifts from this, instead of Doritos, do that. That makes sense? It's just learning what you can do. And so like the salad, most people say, I don't like salad and I need all this bad oil dressings. What do we use? Olive oil and balsamic oil. Do you guys like your salad? And we just added, berries and like pomegranate. Like those are acceptable, but not like, so like high fruit sugars would be like watermelon and papaya and like mango and all that. Those are tropical fruits. You would not have those on this diet. Does that make sense? Because they're too full of what? Even sugar. They're still got, what's that?
Do you have anything good?
What do you think?
Watermelon, I eat that all summer long.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not that it's necessarily, I'd rather you have watermelon than like ice cream. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But there's a healing time of at least, we say 3 months, where we would get rid of that for at least 3 months to allow the body to heal. And then you can incorporate it back because it's still a real food or a God food that we say. You know what I mean? It's still something that's seasonal. So that's why we teach our patients how to eat what we call the core plan, which is just basically real food that God made, that's not fake, like fruits and like watermelon and all that stuff, even sourdough bread. But then the healing phase, and this is what we need to do, if you have chronic disease, we need to have time for the body to mend. So you got to get away from it for how long? I said about 3 months. Why do I say about 3 months? It takes, 90 to 120 days to make new cells. So to make new cells and start regenerating new cells, you need to kind of like stay away from it, not forever, but at least 3 months. Does that make sense? Then you can go back and have the real food, not this junk here. You understand? But other stuff. That makes sense? So this is where it's not a nutrition class, but we have this, like the green would be like the acceptable stuff. The yellow would be slowed down because it has a lot more sugar. And the red in the back would be like, for this 3 months, you would probably want to like shut it off. Does that make sense? If you really want to see changes. And so that's where part of our program is we walk you through a nutritional consult. We start kind of being your coach to try to help you through this. But that's why this process is not for everybody, because everybody wants everything what? Fast and easy. And it's going to be hard for a little bit, but hard is good. That's what I tell my boys, hard is, it gets us through these issues. So we also look at other toxins, like sometimes it could be parasites and biotoxins like mold, Lyme, that people have that create these issues. Heavy metals are another thing. So we will consult with you so that we can start also detoxing those things. So part of our supplements that we give you are to detox those things. Because toxicity is a big issue. It's not just a diet, it's all the chemicals that we're being exposed to. So our process also includes the nutritional supplements that you would need to help nourish, but also to detox. That makes sense? Yeah. So that was the nutrition component. So removing, restoring, returning, the detoxing lifestyle, hydration, of course, and then the supplementation. So what are those supplements? I'm not going to talk about this one. That was just, the 3 changes with the diet. Reduce the sugar, get rid of the bad fat, and going back to good fat. So when we start shifting, like instead of canola oil, soybean oil, just like I said, the dressing typically is it's bad in a salad, and everybody likes all the dressings that have soybean, canola oil, and all that. So we try to stick to just either real oils that are not seed oils. So it's a fat that matters. Like when you cook eggs are good. Not the yolk that's bad, but it's what you fry them in. So what's the number one suggested fat?
Olive oil, butter.
Tallow or coconut oil or even real butter, like organic butter, instead of, a canola oil, vegetable oil, any other seed oil. So Does that make sense? Or I can't believe it's not butter because it's plastic. You know what I mean? It's actually a man-made product that flies don't even eat. Kind of like this stuff. I have this hamburger that's been here since 2017 from McDonald's, and it's still here, and the French fries still look amazing. You know what I mean? But there's no mold. Why? Because it's made with what? Trans fats, preservatives, so that this food does not get processed in the body. It's a toxin. And so this is where if food doesn't go bad, kind of like this white Wonder Bread that still looks white versus Ezekiel bread that's all moldy and has spores in there, whatever, because it has no what? Preservatives. And so this is where the less you tamper with food, food should decay like we need to decay. But when it's fake, it doesn't, and that's what's causing all the diseases. That makes sense? So this is where we will be, of course, this is not a whole nutrition class, but we're very into making sure that you make these changes. With our program, we give you a book, a recipe book that we have here for neuropathy that has different options of what you can do. But that's where we handhold you, but we also invite you to more of these classes so you can learn, and that's part of the process here. The supplements that we do give with our program, one is going to be, again, to increase blood flow. Nitric oxide is going to be the big key for neuropathies. So this cream, when we have you do the red light, we have you put it on the base of your feet and your hands or your legs, because the red light will absorb it, that L-arginine, to help, again, get those blood vessels in. Most neuropathies, again, are lacking nutrients, so this powder is one that you would use with your water bottle. You would put a scoop in your water bottle. That is for the blood flow, for the vessels, and this one's for the nerves. Specifically has vital nutrients like the B vitamins and all the ones that are specific for nerve health and blood flow. And those are part of our program that we give for our neuropathy patients. So again, you get the red light, you get the Viplate, you get the that, and you also get another thing that we'll talk about. So this is like a 90-day program. Why do I say 90 days? Because it takes at least what? 90 days to make drastic changes. That's why that guy changed in 90 days. He wasn't done with our care plan, but that's why we get results quick, because people who do the work and commit for the 3 months, they're going to start seeing the changes. Then we do a re-exam, and then we can start, you know what I mean, weaning your visits a little less, but you're still doing your home stuff. Does that make sense? But initially, it is going to be a once-a-week thing. But so this is what you get of the Viplate, the supplements, then the red light, and then the top one is like a nerve bath where you get your feet. So you see this electrical gloves. So you put the electrodes in this water solution that's going to stimulate those nerves. So after you do your Viplate and you do the red light, you put your feet in that nerve bath. And again, it's sending electrical now information. So you have the red light, the vibration, and then the electrical to do what? To wake up the nerves. So initially, most people turn it on and they're like, I don't feel anything. And you maybe won't, but you still do it and crank it up. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, wow, I can feel it a little bit. And they have to turn it down because now those nerves are waking up. Does that make sense? So this is not a program where it's just about what I do, it's about what you do. But like John said up here, we also have the therapies that we have you do continuously here when you come in for your office. That's more intense. So this is where we talk about the nervous system. As a chiropractor, we wouldn't neglect adjusting you. The nervous system is what carries that communication from your brain to your body. And so, and this is just to tell you, peripheral neuropathy, it's called like that because the nerves that go to your arms or legs are called your peripheral nerves. The spine and the brain are your central nervous system. Your peripheral nerves are your arms and legs, okay? You guys probably didn't think you were going to get this much like information, right? But please stop me if I need to slow down. But this is so important that you understand the why before the how, right? So the nervous system has to be ignited. So your nervous system, if you've never been to a chiropractor, connects not only to your arms and legs, but it also connects to all your what? For your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, for you to digest food, your brain has to what? Tell it to. So the same nerves that go to your low back go to your legs, but they also go to your colon, your digestive organs, your reproductive organs, to everything. So when we adjust the spine, it's to remove interference from that. But for neuropathy, specifically with your nerves, we use these therapies in our office to ignite them. So one was shockwave that we talked about. PMF is another one that you would do here on your visit when you come to our office, and I'll explain these. Chiropractic and the decompression, those 4 things that we do here, plus some of the exercises. But so chiropractic, again, when you come in, you're going to get adjusted to remove pressure off of the nerves. If you see where that red disc right there is because there's pressure on the nerve, and the disc because of degenerative issues. Can I get my spine model? So, for example, this is a normal posture of somebody's neck. And what do we see nowadays with most postures? We see that hunch forward like old people. When old people get less information to the brain, the body starts to kind of hunch forward because there's no postural muscles to bring them back. They start to lose it. Does that make sense? But when everything hunches forward, those discs that are made up of a lot of water, instead of being thick like that, they start to, kind of like teeth rot, they start to compress. And then over time, because there's no disc, now bone rubs on bone, and the body forms more what? Bone, which is called, lots of bone, little peaks right here are called calcific spurs, arthritis, whatever you want to call it. But now what's happening to the nerve that exits? If that hole is now not open because there's no disc, it's getting pinched. So this is when people start to get what we call not neuropathy, but radiculopathy. Radiculopathy meaning that the nerve's getting pinched and you start getting tingling down the arms and legs. So neuropathy and radiculopathy are different. Radiculopathy is more from the spine problems. Neuropathy is from blood flow issues. Does that make sense? But kind of similar symptoms. So that's where we want to fix the posture as well, though. Every nerve, this tells you, like specifically, like from the upper neck, goes to your eyes, ears, nose, throat. Like that's why people get headaches when they have problems with their upper spine. Mid back goes to your lungs and heart. So we would want to remove the interference there. So how do we know if you have problems? Of course, we take x-rays of your spine. So from the front, your spine should be straight. From the side, this is a cervical curve, a neck curve. You see how the white material behind the bones, that looks like a banana, right? Like a curve like that. When you start losing that alignment and it gets straight, it stretches the spinal cord. So it's shutting down that communication. And you see where the arrow is, that disc starts to bulge. So then sometimes people say, I feel a little bit of a neck twinge because that disc is bulging. And they'll just pop a Advil, okay? Over time, that doesn't get taken care of. The disc, like you see the arrows there, starts to decay. That's what I said. Now it herniates and it blocks the spinal cord even further. So that's where people just leave things alone. Does it just get better by itself? You need to work on it. And that's what we do is we teach people exercises here that they would do for their spine. So when people come in here with their visit, you do your spinal rehab where we're tractioning, we get you adjusted, and then we show you exercises for your posture to bring you back. So that's part of the program, okay? So this is where there's a lot to this. So this is one of our neuropathy patients that had a really bad spinal structure in their neck and in their low back. And this is after the 3 months where you see how they're getting a slight better curve there But again, it's just 3 months. It just takes effort to do the stuff. So we'll be showing you what to do for your spine too. So there's 4 therapies: chiropractic, soft wave is that shock wave. We do it to your feet and to wherever your legs, wherever you have the neuropathy. And again, we explained that already. It's that impulse that wakes up the nerves and the blood flow to regenerate tissue. So this is like an example of neuropathy, color discoloration here, like red, blue, and then we get the color back in his foot. So that's where it's crazy, amazing results. When people do have a lot of degeneration, we put them on this decompression table, and that helps, again, so we strap you. It's just basically decompression. So when you come in here, you'll be probably spending an hour here doing the soft wave, doing the exercises, doing the decompression, doing the chiropractic. So once a week, you would be doing an hour with us, but at home, you're going to be doing what? 30 minutes to an hour of your home stuff. We've cut it down to 30 minutes if you use the other red light, where you don't have to do an hour, okay? So that's where it's an investment with time on your behalf, okay? You see how it moves you around, so you're going to be doing a lot of decompressive motion with this. And then lastly, here's the PMF mat, which is a grounding mat. Do you guys know what grounding is? So kind of like the earth emits an electrical charge. That's why they say you should walk barefoot on the grass to get that electrical charge in your body that it needs. We also need it. Well, this mat fires you up. The only people I can't do this with is if you have a pacemaker, but it basically it wakes up those nerves. So we want to wakes up those nerves, and you'll feel an impulse. Like it's kind of weird whenever you get on that PMF. It sends that charge through your body to regenerate cells and promote healing. So those are the last things, and this is the tub that you do at home. So lastly, guys, here as I wrap this up, some testimonies. So this lady here was at an acute level. So like I said, she caught it quickly. So this is whether within, I think, this was not even the 3 months, because she needed to go back to Mexico. But mainly you can tell her top one, she was mid-foot, so she still has some red mid-foot. And this is about maybe 2 months, and she took her equipment and still hopefully does that. I haven't talked to her since, but very easy to change somebody who is like that. This guy here, I'll play his video real quick.
My name's Ken. I'm a patient at Dr. Rosie's and Dr. John at MainHealth Solutions. I've been going since January of 2025. About a year ago, I started having some health issues regarding blood pressure and cardiac. And around the same time, I started getting problems with my legs, like neuropathy type issues, cramping, achy, swelling, temper control. I started about middle of January. After the first treatment, I could tell there was improvement. And then every day doing my daily regimen. And after 3 months, continuing to improve. I'm able to walk longer. Cramping isn't that big of an issue as much. Temperature regulation, I don't have to change my socks as much. I'm not sweating as much or cold. So overall, after 3 months into it, it has helped me, and hopefully it will continue to help me through this progress.
And he just finished his care not too long ago, but this is his scan, the first one, where there's a lot of green. He did the initial test in December, but then didn't want to continue. So he left and then calls me back around maybe midway through the next year, and he says, "Doc, it's not getting better. Do you think I can come back?" And so then I'm like, of course we can help you. I mean, it's, we'll just, retest you. And so that was his another retest. And then this was his last one that from that video. But even then, now I have to shift the one because now he finished a 6-month program. So it's like a 6-month program. And then you just do stuff at home. Does that make sense? So this is where it's going to be one of those things that people plug in, but sometimes people are not ready. Just because if you have a problem or whatever, we can work with you. It's just a matter of you just got to let us know, when you are ready. Because I want people to be committed to do this. Because I don't like when we get people to start and then they're not committed, and it's just more stuff they just bought and it's in the closet somewhere. That makes sense? You have to be committed and take it full on and just say, this is what I'm going to do for, 6 months. I'm going to do this and have a goal set. This is another trucker. This was hard because he was a trucker. He was always, driving and stuff. Lifestyle of a trucker is really bad with food. But anyways, I'm not going to bore you with all the testimonies, but mainly I do want you to understand that there's so many different variety of people we see. This was my favorite, like I said, this little kid's my favorite with neuropathy. I see a lot of kids and babies, but he was my first neuropathy patient as a kid. He got diagnosed with cancer, had the chemo, lost. When he came in, he loved soccer, and he couldn't even walk. He was like all just walking like with canes because he was scared of falling because of the neuropathy. We started seeing him out of my home, I mean, 1 or 2 sessions of that shockwave, it woke those nerves up like this and got him adjusted, and we didn't have to do a whole program. It was just, but that's what happens whenever you're young. Your body mends so much quicker. So that's where, if you know anybody, guys, and whenever they have cancer like that, I saw them on me, no charge, just let's get you back to walking, buddy. Because can you imagine the rest of his life being like that? So that's where, these are the top questions I get asked all the time, so how do I qualify? The only way we know if you actually have neuropathy is we have to do an exam. So we basically do the exam first, see what category you're in, if you're in the acute, severe, or more of the permanent. So then we can then know what kind of treatment plan and goals to give you and see reality kind of recommendations for you. So that's what we're going to talk about, how to get that exam. How long does this typically take? Like we said, typically the program takes about 6 months. The exam takes about an hour, but we'll do the x-rays, the program, 3 to 6 months. If you're very acute, we don't have to do the whole 6 months, maybe a couple of weeks, or if you're, halfway, maybe 3 months, 6 months, to maybe 1 year if people are really, really severe. We've had people that do the 1 year. Does my insurance cover this? What do you guys think? Insurance doesn't care about like functional stuff or nutrition stuff. They're very limited to all that. So that's why we help the person in front of us. Once we kind of give you the recommendations, we give you different options as far as what the program looks like. Typically, these can range from all the way from $2,000 to like $10,000 if you're doing a year plan, you know what I mean? So that's where we kind of figure out what your needs are, and then we can work with whatever budget you have and figure out what we can do. So it's a lot of like interaction to try to help you, but first I want to make sure that are you really even committed to wanting to do this? Because why would I help somebody who doesn't even want to be here? That makes sense? So that's where, but we make things work. If you figure out that you really want to do this, we'll figure something out for you. How much does a program like this cost? Like I said, it could range from $2,000 to $10,000. Very few do we do the $10,000 because we try to work with people, but the value of it would be that. Does that make sense? So the last thing is like, where do you want to be? Do you want to be, you choose your chair. Laying on the beach for your retirement, enjoying the lawn chair and the ambiance God gave you, or do you want to be in a wheelchair in a nursing home, having somebody? I mean, I did it for my dad. He was paralyzed. I took him out of the, nursing home and brought him home. But I was changing his diapers, my mother-in-law's too. But I'm sure, without doubt, they loved that we were there for them. Me and my husband were there for them. But would you want somebody to have to wipe you? That makes sense? You put yourself in those shoes. We did it all the time, and we would jokingly do stuff. It was. I have this bond with my dad, and you know what I mean. But I'm sure that was the last thing he ever thought that he would have me do for him, or my husband do for him. Yeah.
I went through that with my dad too. And
You did it? Yeah. I mean, we all have to go there. I mean, I didn't want him in the nursing home.
Yeah.
I really, it was during COVID. I'm like, no way you're going to be there. Does that make sense? And so this is where, guys, sometimes people think, oh, well, it's just me. But no. You're bringing everybody along with you if you don't make the changes. You just think, oh, it's just me. No, you're bringing whoever takes care of you. And that's what we don't think of. And I still did it lovingly because I loved the man. I loved my mother-in-law. How would I ever want them where they weren't trapped in a room with nobody there? That's why we went down to 3 times a week, and we closed more here, and who cares? Whatever, I'll figure it out. And that's what we did. And I mean, now they're gone, and but at least I feel like they got what they could get. Maybe it wasn't a lawn chair in a beach, but it was a lawn chair in my back patio, and not a lawn chair, but a wheelchair in my back patio. But that's where it was better. So guys, for the examination, we do again the neuropathy examination, the chiropractic with the x-rays. We do like the whole thorough evaluation. All this basically is a value of $475. What we do for these seminars is we do it all for only $145, the exam. Okay, if you pay today, you get the book and the cream. If you can't pay today, that's fine. You pay at the time that you make they're going to make your appointment. And then we do your exam. We find out where you are. And so the next visit, we meet with you to present your results and what our program is. There's no cost for that. But then you guys decide if you feel you want to proceed. Then that's when we can go over options of what you want to do. And then you basically make a decision if you want to or not. Does that make sense? Okay, so my team will talk to you if you do want to make that appointment. We open up certain slots for the week, so they would need to set that appointment for you before you leave. And then if you have questions, again, I'm here all the time. The phone number that I texted you with about this, that's my cell phone, guys. I give you my cell phone. I'm like, you can text me or call me whenever you want. That's the one. Yeah, that's my cell phone. Sometimes people, feel they have questions, but my team is also prepared to answer anything for you, and I'll be here as well. So thank you, guys. God bless you. And yeah.
How does this help with balance issues?
Balance issues are part of the neurological test. So we have different neurological tests that we do. So as a certified clinical chiropractic neurologist, we do basically like the neurology exam to determine balance. So, yeah. All right, guys. Thank you, guys. God bless you. And I'll be here if you have other questions. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. I didn't ask you.
Did you turn it off, George? Yeah, thank you.